I make Excel sheets for fun. So I'm one of those. I can't. I'll be lying if I say I don't like it or I have trouble with it.
On today's episode, we are featuring Afia Modak, who is a professional dancer, choreographer, and senior instructor at Split Soul Dance Academy. Afia also recently assumed the role of managing director in the company. Having begun her dance career in 2010, Afia has performed in several stage shows, choreographed multiple dance routines, and taught over 10,000 students. Afia has also worked under reputed choreographers and directors in Bollywood, danced in several ad films and music videos, while also assisting for choreography in Indian dance reality shows. So sit back, relax, and explore the exciting career journey of Afia Modak. Hi Afia, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, Alok. How are you?
I'm doing well. I had plans to visit India, but of course, given the situation right now, that seems to be unlikely for at least another 2 months. Uh, but yeah,
Yeah.
you are in scenic Goa. How does that feel?
Very nice. I actually came here. We moved here last August, in the middle of the pandemic, and now I don't feel like going back at all. So even though my business is back in Bombay, I'm handling everything online. I'm not entering that city.
Yeah, yeah. Mumbai can be stressful. I've spent 10 years in that city, and it's just it grows on you, but it also beats you down from time to time. Uh, right. Okay.
It does. It's
So
very overwhelming.
indeed, yeah, yeah. Right. So I'm glad that you could join us today for this recording. I'm excited to jump into your story. So, how did you develop an interest in dancing?
So I don't know. It just kind of came about because even as a kid, like when you go to parties and how your parents tell you, "Beta, thoda naach ke dikhao." So it actually started with that, and then I actually figured that okay, this is something I like doing. I actually enjoyed it a lot. I used to sing also. I used to act also. My mother would put me for every damn thing, but I think dancing, I stuck by that. Like even when I went to college, I was like, there are so many people around me, so many people who inspired me to continue dancing. So yeah, it just sort of happened almost as if it fell on my lap. Yeah,
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
dance place. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've had my fair share of those moments where it's just especially if your parents know that now they are paying you to get you like professional dance training, they'll be like, "अरे बेटा वो जो शामक के क्लास में सिखा है ना वो वाला step करके दिखा." And
Yeah.
they demand it. It's like it's not like कि अच्छा हाँ मन हो तो कर लो बेटा. It's like नहीं वो मैं पैसे दे रहा हूँ तो करके दिखाओ.
That is true. That is true. That is so
And
true. Oh my
yeah,
God.
and it's I mean I was such a shy kid growing up. It's just that dancing happened to me much later in my life, and I'm glad it happened because it I was training for 4 years to become a professional dancer. It didn't work out because of course I come from a
Oh,
Gujarati
really?
family, so my family is like acha business kaun sambhalega. If you are out there in
Yeah.
auditoriums doing all these splits and kicks and jazz hands, तो मतलब ये टीवी एसी computer ये सब कौन बेचेगा. So essentially I mean that was one reason why it didn't work, but I mean of course Indian parents, of course, still a lot of them don't see dancing as a viable career option.
That
So
is true.
yeah, it's
Even
that.
my parents gave me a very hard time. Like till I was doing it as a hobby, they were very happy about it. But the minute I said, okay, this is what I want to do in life, and they said, but like, what about that? What
Exactly.
about the money? So I said, it'll come. I mean, I didn't really think about the money factor initially. It just gave me so much happiness, and it's one of those things I found. As a kid, I would do a lot of things just because my friends were doing it, and dance was something that I chose. I was like, okay, this is something I like. I finally found what I liked. So I didn't want to give up on it. I didn't think about the money factor of it. I said, I just want to do this, this is my calling. But yeah, parents didn't agree. I fought for a very long time. I still remember I walked out of the house even. I packed my bags and I said, I'm leaving. This is what I want to do. They came around eventually.
Yeah, yeah. Only when I think with Indian parents, only when other people start appreciating their kid, they feel like, "Nahi, my son or my daughter is doing something important." Otherwise, by their own, they never feel like their kids are doing anything worthwhile. And yeah, so I mean, that's a very typical Indian parent thing. But yeah, I mean, that's crazy. Like, you walking out and saying that, "Hey, this is what I want to do," and I mean, yeah, well, I've done that, but when I was a very young kid, without like when I was 12 or 13, so without any plan. It was more like a childish threat than a serious move. But yeah, so it's that. Well, so of course, like we are you are in India, and India is currently going this crazy second wave of pandemic. But given that you are part of the performing arts industry, how has the pandemic affected your approach towards choreography? Like, have you had any Zoom shows, like Zoom choreography classes?
Yeah. So I'm personally not taking classes, but the company that I am handling, like where I'm managing, um, the company has basically started online classes. We started in May last year, and touchwood, we've been continuing till now because that is literally our only source of income. So we plan to move everything online instead of, because the studios weren't open. In fact, 2 months ago, we opened studios and we had to shut it again because of the second wave. So luckily, our audience could manage online. So we've moved everything online. It's been a whole other ball game together because it's not something we've done before, even to try it out. Like we've not even tried to do an international dance class to even attend it. So we had no idea the kind of game we were getting into, but I get a little research here and there, and I have a team back in Bombay, so we put our heads together, and we had no choice. We basically had to move everything online because a lot of students had paid up as well. So otherwise, their payment also goes waste. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, more so for the media industry and more so for the kind of artistic endeavors that require human interaction, like dancing or acting or theater. Those are the hardest hits. I mean, of course, there are daily wage workers who have lost their livelihood, and that's sad. But I mean, otherwise, like, considering them, like the other people that have most been affected have been people in the performing arts. And I mean, it's just sad to see that so many businesses, so many good dancing troops kind of went under. They did not survive this pandemic. But gradually things, at least here in New York, is coming back to life. So movie theaters are now open. There are discussions about opening up Broadway so that people can enjoy theater,
Oh.
because everything like Aladdin, Lion King, Chicago, Phantom of Phantom of the Opera, all of those like have been shut for more than a year now. So theater actors who
Hmm.
already sort of struggle in the early stages were kind of left with their head scratching that, okay, what do we do now? Should we move back? Should we wait this thing out? So yeah, it's been hard. But I think in terms of, so for my business also, it was like a crazy thing because I'm used to having people in office, and because we do podcasts and films, so it's a very visual medium. So I have to draw
Yes.
and like I have to show them things, references, which of course is much harder when
Yes.
you're doing it virtually. So yeah, shifting, I think the internship
Yes.
program online was really difficult because I had to manage three time zones. Like I found interns in Europe, in India, and then in North America, so Canada and US. So it's like, okay,
Oh, wow.
finding one time that works for all of them has been like, the time management was the biggest challenge, other than like getting projects done. But yeah, I mean, I could
I'm
imagine.
sure those are like.
Yeah, so I mean, but more so for dancing, because it's like it requires not like, I understand that how much preparation goes into like doing 30 seconds worth of choreography, right? You have to get the beats, you have to get the pacing correct, and then there's like expression and all of those things. So it builds on itself, but you have to keep doing it. It's not like okay, you turn on the camera and it's there. It's like that's what the people don't get about it. But so yeah, I can imagine that choreography, stand-up comedy, theater, all of those were much harder hit than other businesses. But I'm glad you had a team in Mumbai and you were able to transition online. And so yeah, it's like difficult, but
It's a blessing. Yeah, it was very difficult, but given everything that's happening around, I am not complaining. I don't want to complain about it because I genuinely feel like it could have been worse. So I'm just happy, where we are right now. Personally, at least, I'm okay with the little bit of trouble that had happened. I'm absolutely okay with it. It's fine.
great. So how did you become the part of Split Soul Dance Academy?
Okay, so I think this was in college when I was auditioning for. I was in Jai Hind. There's this. I don't know if you've heard of Jai Hind.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so in my JC, in my FYJC, I was in Jai Hind, and back then, at least when I was in college, street dance, Malhar used to be one of the biggest events happening. So I said,
Yeah.
you know what, let me audition for this because I was like, okay, I'm not a dancer, but I dance well. I think I dance well. Let's give it a try, and I did, and I got selected, but I injured my toe, so I
Oh,
couldn't go ahead. Yeah, I injured my toe really badly, so I was so bummed about it, and I said, okay, never mind, maybe something else. So once I my toe healed, I was like, I think I should train myself a little further because everyone I saw or whoever got selected was part of some dance class or the other. Like some were from Shamak, some were from Terence, and I was like, wait, I'm not from anywhere. I need to train myself a little more. And I was going to join, I think, Dance Works at that time. And then a friend of mine said, hey, my friend is starting a new company, and he's really good at what he does. Why don't you try it out? So I said, okay, I'll go for a class and everything. So I went for a class, and that was history. I went for my first dance class and ever. And that's when I met Dheeraj, my husband. He's the director of Split Soul. And yeah, he offered me, he said, why don't you join us? You can learn, dance here, you can also teach here. And I didn't think of dance as a career option back then at all, because I had not heard of anyone within my circle or around me. There was no representation at that time, for me at least. Like, I didn't know anybody who had taken up dance as a career, uh, except like maybe in Bollywood, but that's something I was never interested in. Was never a fan of, Bollywood. So I said, okay, let's see how this works. And then it was just one step at a time, and that's when actually I fought. When I realized that okay, I could have a career in dance, that's when I started fighting my parents. I said, okay, no, this is what I want to do. But yeah, it was one of those things where I just hopped into a dance class and never left.
yeah, yeah. What a exciting story, right? Like such a life-changing event. Like you found your career and your husband in one place. Like not everybody is like,
Yeah,
lucky to have that. Like they are usually able to manage one or the other. Like, okay, they found a partner or like they found a career. But to do both of that at the same time, I think like yeah, you hit the jackpot there.
that's
So
right.
that's great. So, what's your current role at the Split Soul then? Yeah, are you just managing the business side of it, or are you also involved on the creative aspects?
So no, I'm very like I involve myself very little with the creative aspect of it currently. I'm managing the business part of it more. That's only because like around 2017 is how many years ago? 4 years ago? Yeah, 4 years ago, I injured myself really badly. I had this. back issue, and I had to stop dancing completely. So that's when I made the switch to management instead of teaching and dancing. And I kind of, sorry, that's a lot. I kind of enjoyed it a lot. I felt like the company was also doing better, and Dheeraj said that, okay, I think this is something you can do, apart from dancing. So yeah, I continued that, and then slowly, as my body felt better, and when I recovered, I did get back to dancing, but not fully. And by then, we had already created a team that was teaching and earning out of it. So I didn't want to tamper with that as well. So I stuck to the management and the business side of it. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people sometimes find that uh, interest in like management side of things. So I remember I had my sister on set, and she was playing one of these little roles in one of the films that I was directing in Mumbai. And she was all this while she
Okay.
was just helping, like to get that scene done, because she was in that one little scene, and that's it. But she said that, hey, I would also love to help you out, like behind the scenes, so whatever help you need with production and scheduling and all of those things. And so she enjoyed it so much, she's like, okay, hey, like I could do this every day, so I can be on set, help you. And so for the longest time that I've known her, she's been this person who's always been on the creative side. But once the opportunity presented itself, she's like, oh yeah, this is fun as well, like seeing how the scene comes
Yeah.
together was fun for her. Yeah, so it's that.
Yeah. I,
So
I think it was similar for me.
yeah, yeah. But there's a uh, now that I think of it, it's such a fascinating story that you and Dheeraj have. Like, there's another podcast I produce called Love Without Borders, and it's about this couples who have had this really interesting journey of being with each other. So some people have been, like in different parts of the world, and somehow they ended up together. And some people, just because they have common passion for a certain language or a certain culture, that's what brought them together. So yeah, like I don't know if Dheeraj would be up for it, but sometime in future I might send you an email like, hey Afia, remember I spoke to you about Love Without Borders? We are doing season 2 of it. Like, if you and Dheeraj are up for it, then yeah, so that's
Oh
something for the
wow, I'd
future.
love that. That's so nice.
Yeah, and there's some pretty fascinating stories. Like, once you listen to them, you'll realize, like, you know, people make this, like, rightfully so. People say that, oh, love is such a difficult thing to come by, and it is. But for some people, it has been such a crazy story of, like, being, friends for the longest time, and then in one moment they realize, oh, I've been in love with this person all this while. And so it's amazing. We have had, I think, like 8 couples, and they all have, like, amazing stories. So yeah, I can see it right there, up with all of those people, that okay, walking into a dance academy and finding your career and husband, that's a good, like, line. That's a good log line for marketing the episode.
Yeah. I
So
love a
that's,
good love story too. So trust me, I'm a sucker for that.
yeah.
So
So you'll love the podcast. So then you'll have to convince Dheeraj, if he's not up for it, that is then.
done.
But cool. Okay, so moving on. Now, of course, you have been on the creative and the business side of running a dance academy. What are some of the challenges? And you can speak on the either side, be it creative or management. But what are some of the challenges about dancing or choreography that is not, like, most people are not aware of it, but those are some things that the dancers or people who manage dance business handle on a regular basis, like just some of the challenges that you endure.
Uh, Honestly, like when I speak creative side of it, it's now that we're into this whole Instagram world, it's so easy to lose sight of what you actually want to do, and then you put out things that you're just putting for an audience because you need that traction, or you need that uh, you need your business to also run, you need an audience. So I think striking the balance between the two I found it very hard, which is why I've kind of given up on creating an audience for me personally, because I do what I like. Because I can't do the whole, okay, I need to do this because I think my audience will like it. I come from a school of thought where I'm like, okay, I do what I like, and my audience will find me. If they like it, they like it. There are people who won't like my work, and I'm absolutely okay with it. And this is something that it's taken me years to bring this attitude because otherwise it's hard. You know, there are days when you create with all your heart, and then you're like, okay, there's no one to see it though. Like, you know, that I've put myself out there, and you're getting, I don't want to speak about likes, and I don't want to say likes, but for the lack of another word, I'm just going to say, okay, you get like minimal likes, or you know, a lot of people haven't seen it, and it can be disheartening. But I think I have just I'm like, okay, I've made my peace with it, that it's fine. I'm absolutely okay if I'm not seen, but I'm going to put my work out there, work that I like. And luckily for me, the people who I look up to, the people who I really like, people whose work I really admire, know me, like my work, and appreciate it. So I think that saves the day for me. Management wise, I think just coordination with the team. Like currently, because everything's online, there's a lot of miscommunication because of you know, time. Although here there's no time difference, but because I'm in another state altogether, my routine has changed, so getting in touch with people is a little harder sometimes. The area I'm in, Goa, is a little laid back when it comes to any kind of work. So my electricity keeps going, and then I just have to deal with it. So my work doesn't get done on time. So management wise, I think that's the only thing that I'm having trouble with, communication wise, right now. But otherwise, I kind of like it. Like I make Excel sheets for fun. So I'm one of those. I can't. I'll be lying if I say I don't like it or I have trouble with it. I genuinely don't. I just love it.
Yeah, yeah. I think there is a very small subset of human population that would claim that they love doing Excel, and I count myself in that because I used to work for a very long time in
Oh,
finance.
really?
Yeah, before transitioning to media. So what that means is that Excel was my daily sort of thing that I had to do. Be it looking at the business side of things, so like accounts, like balance sheet, profit and loss, or be it doing projections and charts and graphs. So yeah, I still love it. I mean, because I have that awareness of how financial side of things work, it makes me a better producer, I feel, because I'm able to control the cost and budget much better in that sense than like a lot of other producers who get sometimes overwhelmed when things don't go their way. So yeah, I guess in a way it was a good
Makes
training
sense.
grounds. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it seems fairly challenging because it's like, yeah, you have that. So geographical location is one aspect of it, but then also your environment, which if it is laid back, then you naturally sort of don't feel that kick to do things. And yeah, I have seen both sides of it,
Yeah.
in the sense that when you live in Mumbai, it's like daily grind. You feel that energy every day that people are doing that, and it's the same with New
Yes.
York. Like before pandemic hit, it's just chaos. Like everywhere you go, it's just chaos, and I sort of have learned to embrace that. Uh, but yeah, so now when I go to really quiet place, like where nothing is happening, then it seems a bit weird. Like, okay, this seems very dead. And yeah, that was when I went
Yeah.
to Kyoto in Japan. It's like such a small town. It's like Haridwar. It's like a very religious place in Japan. So all you find is shrines and temples and all of
Okay.
those things. And there's nobody. Like
Oh,
after
wow.
8 p.m., it's like deserted. You cannot find like a takeout. There's no delivery, no pizza, nothing is happening. So it's very calming, but it's also very
Okay.
disorienting if all you know is chaos. So it's, So yeah, I think,
Correct.
but
That's
that's great. Okay, so now speaking a bit more onto the creative side of things, what do you think are some of the important traits or qualities a dancer should have?
okay. I think number one for me for anything would be discipline, because I think that umbrella covers a lot of things. Whether it's, you need something creatively, or if you want to take it up even as a career, or if you're working under somebody, or you're working in the industry, uh, ethics, class decorum, all of that comes under discipline. All of that comes under how you train yourself. So I think if you're disciplined enough, everything else falls in place. You kind of there's this hunger to be better in every aspect of everything that I mentioned, if you've just disciplined yourself to do so. So I think for me, that's number one, literally. And yeah, creative side, I don't know. I think you need to be hungry enough uh, to want it. So your research has to be bang on when it comes to uh, when you're creating, especially, you know, um, to watch others, to just generally, whichever aspect you've decided to go to, your research, your hunger to know things. Yeah, I think these is for me number top two: discipline and hunger.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think, well, yeah, people, and so I mean, as I said earlier in the interview, it's sort of like, builds upon itself. So first you try to get the choreography right technically, and then you add other elements like theatrics and all of those things. But yeah, I think that's another thing that I find very fascinating is that, as dancing has grown over the years, a lot of people have, like, there are so many dance styles now that I've never heard of before. Like, 80% of things that I see on TikTok doesn't make sense to me, but it's some legit dance form out there. It maybe it goes to like my out of touch with dancing for so long that, like, the dance form has passed me by, I guess. But
No, no,
as
you're absolutely right. Even I don't connect to it. You're fully correct.
Okay, okay, that's a bit
Yeah,
reassuring then, that okay, I still understand, like, how things work. That's nice. But yeah, it's, I mean, uh it's, yeah, but I mean, there are some dance forms are legit, like, that are sort of sub branches of things that have been there for some time. So, like, I remember when, this whole dance India dance thing happened. So, like, popping and locking and crumping and all of those things were fun, and it was good to explore because, I was like still in that space and still training. So we would request our instructors, even if they don't know the dance form, it's like crumping सिखाओ ना थोड़ा. It's like, I don't know how to choreograph crumping. अरे सर कोई बात नहीं, ये वीडियो जो है ना, just
yeah,
teach me as it is. But what, so yeah,
yeah,
I mean, it's, I know, like, even here I know some of the dancers, and it's just like they dedicate so much of their time. Like, people don't understand that the way their 9 to 5 job is, learning to dance, like choreography, is also the same. And, I have a friend who went
absolutely.
to Juilliard. Juilliard is like Harvard of dancing. That's what she told me. It's like it's the
Yes,
most difficult dance school in the
yes,
world to get into, and equally difficult to sustain because a lot of people drop out. It's so hard. Like, you're doing three different dance forms every day, and so every day you have to be very particular about your diet, your body, and, your routine. Uh, and she told me that,
that will get gross.
yeah, so she said that most people don't understand this about dancing. It's not just some random body movements. There is a science behind it, and you need to get that
Right.
right to be respected as a dancer. So yeah, it's a lot of it is hard work, and that is rooted in discipline, as you said. Uh, What are your thoughts about like this? Like, now of course this is more on the industry side of things, but this idea that like way people steal jokes in stand-up comedy, which is like prevalent here in US and in India. But does it happen in terms of choreography as well, where people just outright steal your choreography and just say that no, this is my work?
A lot, a lot, a lot. I mean, it's happened to me only twice, but it's also uh, someone who I knew, so I couldn't make a big deal about it. But it happens a lot. Also, like there's no one to actually keep a check on it because there are so many dancers here. There are so many dancers in India that there could be someone teaching your choreography from top to bottom in some, you know, small area like a village area and making money out of it, which is what happens. Like in my company, we give a lot of free workshops and we teach combinations, we teach chunks. A lot of people come only for those workshops, so they learn that, and when they go back to their area and they teach that, and yeah, they make money out of it. So that is on a whole other business altogether that happens. But there are a lot of people who, take choreographies or take movements or copy movements and don't credit or don't even say that, I was inspired by this and then I created my own movement. It happens a lot, but there's honestly not much you can do about it because you don't want to get into the bad side of it. Like, at least personally, I don't like putting up things on Instagram and saying that, hey, okay, um, this happened or that. Like, I try to keep that away. And then sometimes I feel like if you approach them personally, not everyone's going to take it the right way. So
Yeah.
I say, okay, like I think of that sentence, like imitation is the sincerest form of. Sorry, I'm getting it wrong.
Imitation is the best form of flattery.
Flattery, yes. I thought, wait, did I get it right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
I just take it with a pinch of salt and leave it. But it happens a lot here. Like there are a lot of people who will even use your if you shot a video for somebody and they won't even give you credit. If they've shot a video in your studio, they won't give you credit. They repost your work. They don't even write like, okay, who the choreographer is. They will do your choreography and not. It's a lot of it happens.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds very ugly, and yeah, because a company, or a team of choreographers, or anyone personally, they put in so much effort into developing that original choreography, and just to see somebody who outright just rips it, is
Yeah,
quite sad, because not only the original creator does not get
yeah,
credit, they also don't get the financial benefit of it, because ultimately it's their work at the
yeah,
end of the day. And so I think that's a very cruel way of going about doing this. But given that all that we have talked about so far, about like the creative side and the business side of choreography, what would be your advice to people who are considering this as a career option? Like, we already know they need to fight with their parents, but apart from that, what other things they need to do?
yeah. uh, you got to be really sure if you want this, because it's not one of those any art form actually, especially in India. It's picking up, but it still has a long way to go for everyone to accept it with respect. So like, I guarantee you bad days, I guarantee you will be disappointed most of the time when you take art as a career, because it's not an easy ride. But after 99 days of pain, that one day of satisfaction that you get, it could be literally anything. It could be something you've been trying for so long and you're not getting, or it's a split, or it's a pirouette, or it's a jump, or it's just a piece of choreography that you were doing a mediocre job with, and now you're doing it really well. um, the the satisfaction you get out of that, it all makes it worth it. But to reach that, it it's a lot of pain. And you know uh, it's also different for everybody. Like me, for example, I could take 100 days to learn one thing. The person next to me could take 10 days, another person could take 50. So because everyone's journey is different, you tend to get demotivated by the person who's got it in 10 days, and you're like, shit, this person is doing so much better than I am I on the right path? You will keep questioning yourself. So yeah, that happens a lot. So before you actually put yourself into this and decide that this is the career I want, it's good to research, it's good to speak to people who have been there and done that, who are doing what you wish to do. Have a conversation. There are a lot of people who will be very happy to guide you one on one even. And more than anything, find yourself a mentor from anywhere. It could be a person in dance even, or just in life. I think that helps a lot, to know one step ahead of what things could look like. Makes you help It helps you make that decision. Not always it's not always going to be a right decision, but you more or less get it there. And if it's not a right decision, it also helps you accept that, okay, it wasn't right, now what's the next step? Let me make it right. So yeah, like, do a lot of research before you get into it's because it's not easy. It's not easy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Especially, I think, in places where there is not a proper infrastructure to support these kind of careers on a sustained financial level,
Yeah,
it becomes that much harder. So, I mean, that's the
yeah,
thing. My father told me that, hey, with the business, there is sort of a guaranteed income that you're making every month. Even on like bad months, there is a certain number of income coming in choreography. Either, like, if you hit it,
correct.
then you hit it big, but if not, then it's you're struggling for a very long time. And I've seen that, like, that 4 years that I was
Absolutely.
training to be a dancer, I've seen so many people who would land up in a city like Mumbai without any plan, thinking that, okay, I'll work for 6 months, take 2 or 3 classes, and then I'll be the next big thing in choreography. But it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work for any
Mm,
career. Like, 6 months is not unless you are exceptionally gifted and then you become some, like, internet sensation, things won't go your way. And so that's the reality most people cannot get a hold on, and then they are disappointed. And that's also a thing, right? Like, when people move to Mumbai, they are on this, like, timeline, that they are on, like, they are in a sense of urgency that they need to get to a certain place by some time. Otherwise they are going back to their old life, which is what they were trying to escape in the first place. And yeah, so it's a
correct.
tough business, and it takes a lot of dedication, a lot of effort to reach a certain level of fluency, a
Yeah,
certain level of expertise. And even then, like, building the business side of it is another, like, whole another universe. Like, okay, you could be really good, but if nobody signs up for your class, you know how are you going to survive?
correct.
So that's
Yeah,
those are the two ends of equation that anybody needs to balance. But yeah, that's yeah. And I also like that you mentioned that get a mentor, because that will sort of give you clear direction rather than trying a whole bunch of things. So yeah, I think this is a really
yeah,
good advice. What then there's another thing also, like, I felt that the politics, the office politics is only there in that corporate space because everybody is trying to get ahead and beat the other person. But turns out it's the same in choreography as well. Like, there's so much backstabbing going on, where it's like, okay, everybody's trying to bribe the choreographer कि अच्छा इसको नहीं मेरे को सेंटर में रख लो, अच्छा मेरे को 10 seconds का सोलो दे दो, अच्छा how about I make an entrance from here, not there. uh, and so it's I just felt like if you just focused on dancing and be naturally that good, the choreographer who is sensible will see that, and they'll naturally bring you, like, in the spotlight. rather than focusing on those things. And so a lot of people fall into that trap as well, where they might get their 15 minutes of fame, but they never really develop the true talent to sustain. And well, yeah, so
That's
it's, yeah, I hope this was like, inspiration for people and not demotivating, given that we have spoken so much.
no, no, no. I hope it's not. I also think that they need to see the. Sorry, I'm gonna repeat that because he's barking.
Okay.
They need to see the reality side of it, because when you're uh, as an art form, like when you like something, it kind of gives you that high. And when you're riding on that high, you tend to not see the reality, and then when you jump into it, you're like, shit, this is a whole other ball game altogether. There are so many other things that I didn't think about, or I didn't deal with, or I didn't know about. So it's fine if everything that we've spoken about, if people are hearing that and it doesn't scare them and they still want to jump into it, then I think then that's for them. But if they have to think about any of these and get it sorted before jumping, then I think we've saved somebody, to before they can uh, make a decision in haste. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
because
hopefully.
especially now, people have such distorted view of reality because they see that, oh, there are these people who are dancing on TikTok and they get like millions and billions of views. They feel like, oh, like, that's the thing that I should aspire for, and they might get there. Especially when platforms are growing, it's easy to get that organic reach. But once that thing goes away, it's your talent that survives you. And yeah, most people just have that narrow view. Now people have become like, I need to be dancer for only 20 seconds and not have that 4 minute of like, beginning to end one take performance. Because I mean, I was trained that way, that if you're doing a live performance in front of an audience, whatever 3.5 minutes, it's in beginning to the end. Like, it's not a one take, two take thing. You're not shooting a film. Our live performance is a live performance, right? So I was trained that way.
Yeah.
Now what I see these kids is like, they won't do a choreography like a full length 30-second or a 1 minute choreography. They are like, okay, TikTok ke liye kitna chahiye, 20 seconds na, ha. So they'll just do that and
Yeah.
move on. So which is a bit sad
Yeah.
because they don't realize that dancing is much more than that. Okay, so now,
Very true. Very right said.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so I'm curious to know, what's your favorite dance style and why?
Ah, I don't have a favorite dance style. I actually have two, three that I do, which I like. So I think I can say all of them are my favorite. So I started off with jazz funk. So that's always close to my heart. I don't create jazz funk as much anymore, but I attend a lot of classes, jazz funk classes, and I still continue training myself in that. And because I've done it for so long, it sort of comes naturally to my body now. So I like it. I like the whole process of it. So jazz funk would be one. And I think I really like dancehall and Afro movement. I like the music, which is why I think the yeah, I like the music, so the body movement comes really naturally as well. So these are the two three styles that I, and even when I'm creating, I don't try and I don't try and incorporate that. I just listen to the music, and whatever happens naturally, I let it happen. But more often than not, what happens naturally is Afro or dancehall or a little bit of jazz funk movement. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. And I've learned a little bit of jazz, and yeah, it's fun. It's such a unique, it's such a unique form in terms of like the music and the elements that you could incorporate. I think it's fun. Like it's hard to explain in words, but it's a fun feeling. Like every time that music comes on, it's like, okay, yes, I'm getting in the groove. It's like your body naturally picks up a movement, and so that's great. Okay, so is do you have do you have a piece of choreography, like your all-time favorite piece of choreography, something that you watch over and over again and it still inspires you, like to match that level or inspire you in general?
Oh wow. I do actually. There is this choreography by Keone and Mari. I don't know if Mari helped there, but Keone. Have you heard of Keone?
No.
Okay, so he is one of my favorite choreographers, and he did this piece of choreography in a dance competition called the Vibe, and it's based on orphans. And I think for me that is a masterpiece. Like if you ever get a chance to watch it, please do, because that's something that instantly brings tears because of the artistry, because of the way he has visualized the choreography, the way everyone has danced in one breath. It's like they're moving together. They're all in rhythm. It's just one of those pieces that even if there was no story behind it, just watching them dance, and there are like 40 people on stage, and all of them dancing in sync and so beautifully. Yeah. So it's my, like, I go back to that piece anytime, even when I'm low and I feel like I can't create, I just go back to that piece and I'm like, I feel so motivated. And wow, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. Yeah, it's one of my favorite pieces that I will. Um, yeah, I wish I had watched it live because I'm sure that would have been something else. But yeah, for
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
that.
Sure, yeah. So make sure to share the link of that video if it's on YouTube or any other video streaming service, then send it to me. And yeah, if it's possible, I'll also add
Definitely.
it to the final cut of the episode. So people, or if not, for copyright reasons, I'll
Yeah.
include a link so people can go and watch it. Um, but yeah, I would love to share that. Like, if you're getting goosebumps watching it now, I'm curious. Like, okay, it will be interesting to see what they came up with, more so because I don't know the person
Yeah.
that you're talking about. So yeah, I'm always looking for inspiration in whatever dance form, or like like I usually look at scenes from movies when I'm trying to come up with an idea for a film, that okay, how did this guy,
Oh,
this
oh
director
wow.
approach this scene. Yeah, so I'll just look at those 5 or 6 minutes and try to like understand what was communicated both verbally and non-verbally. And that's how I, try to write scenes. And that helps a lot. Like every time you feel that, okay, you don't have that creative spark in you, you see some beautiful piece of art and you feel like, okay, there's a lot of work remaining to get to that level. So keep pushing, you cannot slack off.
Yes.
Um,
Oh, yes.
so it's that.
Precisely that. Yeah.
Great. Okay. So now, if you could change one thing about dance industry in India, what would it be? I'm sure there are a lot many things, but like if the one single thing that you could
Yeah.
change, then yeah, what would that be?
I think since we spoke about it, one of those things I would like to elaborate on that itself is the training aspect, which has deteriorated a lot recently because of Instagram reels or TikTok, or just in general. I feel like it's like a cycle. Like, students don't really want to train. They come to a instructor only for their piece of choreography. So they'll see this on Instagram and they'll be like, okay, this teacher is teaching this. So I want to attend their class. So even if that teacher wants to train them and, not just give them a piece of choreography, which they have come up with, after understanding a certain level of training. So it's basically, if they want to give them that information, the students don't want it. So if they give that, there are less students in class, then there's less, income. So it's like this whole cycle, and then because of that, they end up putting more uh, choreography based videos, because if you're putting something that is, like you said, like an entire piece from start to bottom. Not everybody's watching it right now. Everybody's like, even in general, even if non-dancers are watching, like a layman is watching anything on Instagram, their attention span doesn't last more than 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So everyone is creating for that platform. People are watching that platform and coming to you, and then you end up giving them just that, and then it's this whole cycle, I feel like, which has ruined so many things for dance training, quality training in general. Like, thankfully, I'm so blessed because I started training at a time when there was no Instagram. So
Yeah.
everything that happened was, competition. Your only competition was the person next to you, and your only goal was the person who was teaching you. And you didn't stop day and night till you reached that, or your name was circulated by word of mouth within the dance community. And it felt so good because people would say, oh wow, I heard of this dancer, oh you're Afia, oh you're Dheeraj, I've heard about you. And that felt so good. Like, right now everything's so approachable. People who, I don't mean to say it like that, but people who aren't that great, or still have a long way to go when it comes to art as a dance form, or sorry, dance as an art form. What did I just say? uh, they're also they're also very famous amongst, on Instagram, or uh, amongst the layman, because that's what they understand. And there are so many incredible dancers who I've met personally, even when I travel to Singapore to train. And I've danced next to them. They've danced in front of me, and I have taken such positive energy from them, and they're amazing. I mean, like, 20 times better than someone who's famous back here in India, who's probably not that great. And they have, like, I'm not kidding, but 500 followers, barely. Not famous enough. Like, they don't have an audience, but that's because they're doing authentic work, and not everybody connects to that. So, if that's something I could, make people understand, that uh, art is more than just, entertainment. It's so much more than that. It takes so much to create, it takes so much to put yourself out there. And so, yeah, that whole cycle of this. I mean, not for me, maybe, but for so many other people who, because I'm okay, I've made my peace with it. I'm fine. I'm
Yeah.
genuinely, like, it's taken me a while to understand it, but I'm okay with it. But I know so many people in my team as well who are exceptional. Like, but, just because they're not doing it to a famous song, or something that's not trending, it's not seen, or it's not appreciated as much.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's another thing, right? Like
if
now
only.
choreography is all about like what's trending on TikTok, what's trending on Reels, and you just like create something on that, and it's only, as you said, 20-30 seconds. So like anybody who is a decent dancer is able to mimic the steps. Okay, some people who are creative might
Yes.
even like
Yeah.
try to come up with something of their own, but that's still just 30 seconds, so it doesn't require that much involvement, right? You could add a twist a little bit here and there, and like, oh, you can call it your own, that okay, I have not copied because I did this step different, or like I started at this time, whatever. But yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's an important point that you shared, that I know personally so many people, because I also trained in the time when there was only Facebook and nobody was putting out dance videos on Facebook at that time, just like 2008 2009, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So I was trained in
Yeah.
that thing that okay, you are performing for an audience, and it's all like high energy from beginning till the end, which is 3 minutes, which meant your fitness has to be on a certain level. You need
Yeah.
to understand the choreography, you need to understand teamwork, where are you in the stage, like the layout of the stage. So all of those things, which I see gradually is
Yeah.
like fading away. Like people are not putting in that kind of dedication, which I saw. And it's sad to see that a lot of
Yeah.
people that I know from that time who are still in dancing and so good has like no traction at all, because they are doing genuinely for the art form, and they are not doing it to pander to a particular audience online. And so that's why they are not getting views, and that's why nobody knows them. And it's sad,
Yeah.
but I mean, well, unfortunately that's how the world is right now. So I hope that they either
Yeah.
adapt, or like people see value in them, and things get better. But yeah,
Yeah.
this is so fascinating.
Yeah.
I've been meaning to do a dance documentary for a very long time, like to parallel two different worlds of like how it's in India and versus how it's in the US, specifically New York. Because in New York you have two worlds. Like you have Russian ballerina who will train painstakingly for years to get those angles correct and everything. And then there's this guy on subway
Yeah.
who's exceptionally good, okay, at doing all the jumps and twists and turns and all the tricks. And his life is also that, like he also puts in so much time into it. But they exist in two different realities. Like for this ballerina, it's like, okay, you have a head instructor, there's other ballerinas, there's politics, backstabbing, and there's so much that goes into it. And then there's this other guy who is like, doesn't have to stick to a routine, but he also trains very hard. He has to, like, avoid the cops and make sure he doesn't fall into that trap of doing drugs. And so it's a survival mechanism for both of them,
Correct.
but they exist in two different realities. So I can maybe add a third element of Bollywood into it and see that, okay, if that makes sense. But yeah, I'll consult you if that project, not now but in future, becomes a reality. Then I'm
For
like, okay, how do I go about it, at least in India, because I've not engaged with the industry for like almost a decade now. So yeah, okay. So my
sure.
last question to you is, are there any exciting projects that you're working on or that you intend to work on that your viewers or the viewers of this episode will be really excited to explore?
So currently, because of the pandemic, we're actually, the future is a little shaky.
Yeah.
So not working on anything right now, just focusing on how, with my team, how to, manage the business and get it back on its feet. That's the only thing we can hope for right now. But there are a lot of projects in terms of like industry projects that are happening outside, which I avoid doing. I actually work with only uh, there's there are like one or two choreographers in the industry that I work with, and just recently I did two projects with them. So I think for now I'm done. Uh, yeah, I actually, yeah, I don't really like working in the industry at all for 100 reasons, because I don't know if I should say this. I don't think the work is up to I don't enjoy it. For me, it's not art. But that's my personal opinion. I could be extremely wrong, which is why these two choreographers are there's Atul and there's Rajit, and I really like their work. I like their approach. I like how they visualize, dance direction, and they're the only two choreographers I like working with. Having said that, I think I'm lucky enough to be able to choose, uh, you know, at a time like this also, and say, okay, I don't think I want to do any other work. I only want to do that. And that's only because my main income is the company that I'm running. But yeah, so no exciting projects coming up, but just surviving right now. Survival mode is on. That should be exciting enough.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for a lot of people, just getting through this, is will be a huge achievement, and I totally get that, because some of them were just beginning to gain traction as the pandemic hit, and that has certainly been the case with my company. Like the podcast projects were really beginning to take off, and then suddenly the pandemic happened. So like, okay, no studio space, no filming, everything is pure audio now. So it's like, okay, how do we go about it?
Oh my God.
And yeah, so that was a tough transition. But yeah, okay, imagine if the pandemic were not there and you could do, like, one project that you always wanted to do, or that you aspire to do. What would that look like?
Whew. Wow, I haven't thought about that. Uh, I
See, this
actually would
podcast
like
is helping you
to.
so much, plan for your future.
Yeah. No, we actually have Dheeraj and I were planning to choreograph a series of um, dance choreographies. He's had this in mind for the past 4 years, actually. He's got a couple of not a musical, but a musical in form of short dance choreography videos. So he's been wanting to do that, and he's brought me on board, and we've been talking about it for a while. But he's also the kind of person, till he doesn't get it right on paper and he doesn't have it exactly exactly how he wants it, and if his dancers are not ready, then he won't execute it. So that's something that was going to happen this year, but last year actually, but it's not happened. And in a way it's a blessing, because everybody who he thought of having in the video has trained further and has gotten better, so I'm guessing he's going to up his game with choreography as well. So yeah, we're um, like musical, but for in short videos for YouTube, not on stage. Short on stage, but not live.
Hmm.
We're looking forward to
Interesting.
that at some point.
No, that's
Yeah.
that's an interesting concept, and that sort of bite-sized storytelling is something that, of course, the kind of world that we live in, that's the attention span that people have these days. So doing it, I think, with like leaving something more for people to come back, I think that's really smart, because then you can tell the whole story that you want and give them that experience, and also ensure that you have a certain level of audience. So yeah, I mean, looking forward to that. I'll keep an eye out for when it comes out. And yeah, wishing you all the luck in your endeavors going
Thank
forward.
you.